game is on point and didn't even get the chance to in that sequence. Another back air here. Needles, bouncing fish. Is that enough? Yes, it is!
I lied! We're back! And it's gonna be K-Rool taking on Emba starting out here. We saw just a taste of Emba in the beginning, or in the end of the last match, and now Emba is back out to play. The reversal right there with the invincibility, baiting Geo to do something, anything, but Geo holds the resolve, and that gives them another edge guarding situation, another chance to finish off this stock, but the up smash on shield with full rage, that will do it.
All three are going towards long. He's going to be able to isolate one. There's one. Can you isolate the second? Now this has become a 1v1. Here's the opportunity that Glitch was looking for. Spike not being held. Oh my comedic. Obviously that's Heard. Has to get on the spike. There's the head. Wait. Quick dash here from Morgiana though to open out this round. One's going to be King.
Okay.
Find one.
Okay.
Find two.
2 full force buys or full buys away from taking it into OT. That doesn't particularly help, nor does that. It may very well be it, though. The fact they took so long is going to be their Achilles heel, but they will be able to defuse behind that wall. I don't know if it's wall bangable. It doesn't matter. Glitch will be able to find the shot they were looking for.
Coming in as reinforcements, gets a touch as well. There's still one more defender in the name of Troy,
Ooh,
but no
demo.
longer with the demolition.
Nice.
Fired shot from Zernite ties it up. We're trying to see if Zernite can split open this goal differential a bit more. They have made themselves go under less pressure here. Vaudable didn't have 17 shots registered on them, but they might in this game. Number 3.
Does go the perfect direction for Pelosa after they give it off to the other side. They're trying to go for the center. They're trying to go for the bump, but they can't get anything. Grasping at straws, and they have buttery fingers as it goes the other direction, and FIU take the victory.
It's always about that conga line in terms of power and being able to know who's going in first. And they go to Sizer with a 4K, and they're still actively trying to scale this space. Look at this Pristine coming straight on up to Zyza. There's one right behind him as well. Looks like Zyza might fall, and that's exactly what happens.
What started out with yet another Pristine opening pick has turned into a 1v1 that Anchor desperately needs to win. Time starting to tick, and Anchor will deliver.
Getting that aftershock down. And now we wait! And this aggression! Oh! Henzo!
Damage. They put the Immortality Field down. Another Coalescence out from Grebka destroys that Immortality Field. The Maywall trying to play a defensive blockade, but it's just not going to be able to. Both Lucio's down. Cammy bites the bullet early on, and the Annihilation gets annihilated with the rest of Staten Island.
Now, Primal online, Nanoblade almost as well.
Oh, Nanoblade comes out. Wow, poor Grebka. How many deaths on the board? Doc has gone down. It's a 4K from Chongyun, and it's a very impressive one at that. A wonderful opening from Staten Island for some reason. Okay, I'm back. And Blade is going to be coming out from Ice Rare. It does not have a Nano behind it, but it does have a Kitsune Rush. Grebka gives their life for a noob as well. It's a 3-for-1 trade. Let's make it a 4-for-2 trade in favor of Staten Island. They lose their tank and their support, but Chongyun basically fills the role of the tank, goes for possibly the final fight. Can Doc find anything with this overclock? It's going to be Ice Rare that finds one. Doc does go down to Chongyun as well. Both these Genji's critical condition, but Grebka has fallen. Cringe not far behind, and this should be the beginning of the end for Staten Island. Things are going to be falling apart at the blink of an eye here. NYIT is going to emerge with a loss, unfortunately, and Staten Island will emerge victorious.
That's going to be a problem. Running away with Ghost, and you're safe. I think they might have stepped up a little bit too far either way, though. Oh no, the sapling! I mean, this is going to be no real sapling kill, but you can at least dive this. This is going to be a run-in. You were trying to get it over to Logair, but it's not going to happen. That might be a chance, but the chains go the wrong way. The chains went the wrong way. The burn, the dot is just too good. Now it's going to be a reverse try here. Slagavan is going to walk away. Huge guns as well. Moonlight Vigil lands on 3, and look at the burn. What did we say? That burning them down. It doesn't matter how much you try. Sunny will destroy your lives. Ole Miss Red can do nothing but wait. A final auto will tag and buff those stats as it's GG for Sunny Canton as they take the 2-0 tonight.
Making sure Dragoon's tech game is on point and didn't even get the chance to in that sequence. Another back air here. Needles, bouncing fish. Is that enough? Yes, it is!
I lied! We're back! And it's gonna be K-Rool taking on Emba starting out here. We saw just a taste of Emba in the beginning, or in the end of the last match, and now Emba is back out to play. The reversal right there with the invincibility, baiting Geo to do something, anything, but Geo holds the resolve, and that gives him another edge guarding situation, another chance to finish off this stock, but the up smash on shield with full rage, that will do it.
All three are going towards long. He's going to be able to isolate one. There's one. Can you isolate the second? Now this has become a 1v1. Here's the opportunity that Glitch was looking for. Spike not being held. Oh my comedic. Obviously that's Herd. Has to get on the Spike. There's the head. Wait. Quick dash here from Morgiana though to open out this round. One's going to be King.
Okay.
Find one.
Okay.
Find two.
2 full force buys or full buys away from taking it into OT. That doesn't particularly help, nor does that. It may very well be it, though. The fact they took so long is going to be their Achilles heel, but they will be able to defuse behind that wall. I don't know if it's wall bangable. It doesn't matter. Glitch will be able to find the shot they were looking for.
Coming in as reinforcements, gets a touch as well. There's still one more defender in the name of Troy,
Ooh,
but no
demo.
longer with the demolition. Fired shot from Zernite ties it up. We're trying to see if Zernite can split open this goal differential a bit more. They have made themselves go under less pressure here. Vaudible didn't have 17 shots registered on them, but they might in this game. Number 3.
Does go the perfect direction for Pelosa after they give it off to the other side. They're trying to go for the center. They're trying to go for the bump, but they can't get anything. Grasping at straws, and they have buttery fingers as it goes the other direction, and FIU take the victory.
Oof, it's always got that conga line in terms of power and being able to know who's going in first. And there goes Sizer with a 4K! And they're still actively trying to scale this space. Look at his Pristine coming straight on up to Zysa. There's one right behind him as well. Looks like Visor might fall, and that's exactly what happens.
What started out with yet another pristine opening pick has turned into a 1v1 that Anchor desperately needs to win time. Starting to tick, and Anchor will deliver.
Getting that aftershock down. And now we wait! And there's a question! Oh! Henzo!
Damage. Oh, they put the immortality field down. Another coalescence out from Grebka destroys that immortality field. The Maywall trying to play a defensive blockade, but it's just not going to be able to. Both Lucio's down. Cammy bites the bullet early on. The Annihilation gets annihilated with the rest of Staten Island.
Now, Primal online, Nanoblade almost as well.
Oh, Nanoblade comes out. Wow, poor Grebka. How many deaths on the board? Doc has gone down. It's a 4K from Chongyun, and it's a very impressive one at that. A wonderful opening from Staten Island for some reason. Okay, I'm back. And Blade is going to be coming out from Ice Rare. It does not have a Nano behind it, but it does have a Kitsune Rush. Grebka gives their life for a noob as well as a 3-for-1 trade. Let's make it a 4-for-2 trade in favor of Staten Island. They lose their tank and their support, but Chongyun basically fills the role of the tank, goes for possibly the final fight. Can Doc find anything with this overclock? It's going to be Ice Rare that finds one. Doc does go down to Chongyun as well. Both these Genji's critical condition, but Grebka has fallen. Cringe not far behind, and this should be the beginning of the end for Staten Island. Things are going to be falling apart at the blink of an eye here. NYIT is going to emerge with a loss, unfortunately, and Staten Island will emerge victorious.
That's going to be a problem. Running away with Ghost, and you're safe. I think they might have stepped up a little bit too far either way, though. Oh no, the sapling! I mean, this is going to be no real sapling kill, but you can at least dive this. This is going to be a run-in. You were trying to get it over to Low Garrett, but it's not going to happen. That might be a chance, but the chains go the wrong way. The chains went the wrong way. The burn, the dot is just too good. Now it's going to be a reverse try here. Swagavan is going to walk away. Huge guns as well. Moonlight Vigil lands on 3, and look at the burn! What did we say? That burning them down. It doesn't matter how much you try. Sunny will destroy your lives. Ole Miss Red can do nothing but wait. A final auto will tag and buff those stats as it's GG for Sunny Canton as they take the 2-0 tonight.
evening, everybody, and welcome to the ECAC broadcast of the evening. It is a week 1 of our Overwatch Elite Division matchups. I'm Tiny Shiny, joined by Jag for our first game of the semester. We got 2 teams. It's going to be Kean and Ohio Northern University, ready to battle it out.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is going to be really exciting because, like you said, first game of the semester, first game of the new split. We get to see these teams battle out in the fall, and we'll talk about that a little bit later because these teams know each other a bit. They did do battle previously on, but we are also going to see the rosters be a little bit different, so I don't think that result that we saw in the fall will be necessarily the same one we see today.
It's always hard to tell, especially with a new season. Things change, players graduate, sometimes your class schedule doesn't align, so you have to make some rotations within your roster. So even if some of the players are the same, Jag, they may be in some different positions that we'll touch a little bit more on as we get more in today's series. Just to review the format, though, it will be a best of 5 matchup or a first to 3, always starting out on control, with the first map pick being Lijiang Tower, then losers pick from there and on forth.
Yeah, and I think Lijiang Tower, we discussed it before. You're not the biggest fan of Lijiang Tower, but I think in general it is a pretty standard map. I'm sorry I had to call you out. I got the notes on it, but it is pretty standard to start out here for control. I think the most interesting thing about a map like Lijiang Tower is that each point plays a bit differently. Usually when we go to something like Control Center, it's always been Brawl dominated, but then you go to something like Gardens, always kind of been more divey, and then you lastly go to Market, and I think it's going to be Night Market, because I do believe we'll be going to the night version of this map, and that's kind of always been a hybrid poke, dive, sometimes Brawl, so I love this map because it kind of shows us early on what teams prefer, what they're strong at, and maybe what they're weak at, but we'll talk about this very briefly. ONU did beat Kean early on our last semester in the fall, but ONU, they're also swapping things up. They're actually swapping who's playing tank, who's playing DPS. Millions used to be their DPS player. Harry Love used to be tank, so they've completely swapped things around here.
Completely new for the side of Ohio Northern, which is going to be a testament to their synergy, especially in a chaotic comp such as the one that Kean is pulling out. Trades on either side, most notably though, Resurrection in play, Beans, a stellar main support player, and this composition, it might look a little bit odd to some of our traditional Overwatch fans, and it's one that we're rather familiar with. The ball with the Tracer they work through to separate the players like we're seeing now, and then they have the damage support from above to actually make those final blows come on through. Kean played the long game and are able to come out with the first cap.
Yeah, this composition has been really popularly used in Calling All Heroes by Kunoichi recently. Had a really nice run in the last chance qualifier. It's chaos. You just run them over, you run away from them. Tracer has a lot of speed and damage, and you can see Becomic's just going to be spraying from so far away. It's so hard to deal with.
I don't envy Ohio Northern right now. This is not a fun composition to play against. They're making some good swaps to try to slow that tempo with the Mei, the Junker Queen sticking a knife hue in there. It doesn't stop Mechanics, though, from getting these pickoffs from above. The Pharmacy is going to be the major issue they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, already have Barrage online, nothing online for Ohio Northern. They're struggling just to get to the point. They tried to use the Mei wall to cut someone off, but there's just so much self-sustain on this Wrecking Ball with those temporary shields you can get, and the Barrage is about to come out.
The Barrage out. It's a trade for 1. With the extra pick onto the Lucio, Kean are in a bit of trouble right now. Nice post bump stick though. AGU, Immortality Field in the way. A couple players low. Ohio Northern yet to push on through the choke. The pick finally should guarantee starting to get some of that progress up going, but with Gardens in particular, Jag, you and I both know very well how long this objective can be stalled out, especially with the Pharah, a Wrecking Ball, everyone going straight around and caught frozen in a pit of mines. Oh, that's 2 going down to an ultimate that rarely gets that amount of value. Kean, even if they lost basically their whole team throughout that engagement, Jag, they're still in control.
They are indeed, and this is what a composition like this does with the Wrecking Ball, with the Tracer. They stall forever. If you can't take them down quickly, they'll just hold on to the point. Like you said, the Minefield usually doesn't find that much value, but there binds too, and that allows the rest of the members of Kean to be able to get back just in the nick of time. And this is last fight territory. Ohio Northern, they have so many ultimates at their disposal, but can they even make it in the nick of time?
going on up, and they're not gonna have H50, which ideally would have been the one to tuck. Millions has a rampage onto the objective just to even get there. Yet the team is far from safe. Akama just chilling on the outside of the match. Already has another barrage yet online that we may not even see throughout this map. Kean wiping the floor clean from Ohio Northern. Guardians going their way.
100-0. That is a statement first point here in Lijiang Tower. A dominant one where even where it looks like they should have lost, they hold on, they stay alive long enough, they contest the point long enough. Everything going the way of Kean for the time being. Now, as we swap on to Night Market, we'll have to see if this composition still works, but Ohio Northern, they need to find an answer here. They went for more of a traditional brawl comp with their Mantra. They swapped onto a Junker Queen. Now they're trying a Doomfist. They're playing a comp that's somewhat similar. You know, the Doomfist can run around a lot, still be a very big annoyance, have Loath on that Echo in the sky, try to duel that Pharah. I'm mostly concerned about, I think, Harry on this Sojourn. They do have, you know, mobility. They will be able to at least get away in some situations, but even with something like a Kiriko, you know, at your back, that still isn't going to be the same ability, the same amount of utility that you might get with another pick.
No, not at all. And I think that's where they're trying to lean into Loath a little bit more with the Pocket of the Sky at H50 falls to Leo Leone of all players. And now Ohio Northern, they're going to lose several more after that going on forward. So while their concepts might have a similar idea of how to play the game as Kean's, like you were talking about, Jag, they still lack in a lot of these mobile areas that as soon as one falls over, they don't have nearly even close to the same return time.
I was a little bit worried there for a second. I saw they weren't capping the point, but it looks like they will cap the point. Now, remember, objective-based game, doesn't matter how many eliminations you get if you aren't playing the objective. And look at what they're doing right now after capping the objective. They are keeping Ohio Northern in their spawn right now. They are forcing them back up. And now it looks like they will finally get some leeway, but oh, you gotta be careful if you are low on this Echo. You are just being focus fired.
Ooh! Oh yeah, they were, but actually that focusing beam does exactly what it's supposed to do, and that is get the Pharah out of the sky. Now Loath has full control of this domain, almost a duplicate online. That just shows the amount of work that they've managed to put in on this hero. It's good enough to push them into a point capture. It's a severe amount of damage, and Echo is able to outburst at once, and it's just the thing to start to slow a lot of Kean's players down.
Well, they do get a pick on to
no way.
At least the Kiriko.
No way, they get the res!
Again? The res?
Oh, Jag, that simply should not have gone out. It was there. The duplicate goes down to absolutely nothing. Kean playing this comp. Ohio Northern just can't catch a break. There's always one more player triggering in after every single time they think they have it set. It just keeps coming. Loath can clean out the whole team and is going to have to do it for a second time in a row just for some Ohio Northern percentage to be shown on our screen. One more player left to get there. Do they finally do it? Yes, the point is colored in blue.
So expensive to get there. I mean, the fact that they have to give up 60% on the point, that is, I mean, you want that point a lot quicker than that, especially when you won the fight outright a little bit before that. We're going to see Loath. Yeah, Loath is coming online here, and they are helping get their team across the finish line, but again, that resurrection is going to cancel that out.
It's enough for them to still be in control. Comics rolling in as the barrage in sight. The Kiriko looking nice and juicy, and she still managed to grab her off the edge of the TP. H50, though, gets a resurrection off of their own. Now, this is a completely even game. Support ultimates will be the tale of the day. Harry didn't have the same amount of healing going in their direction, decided to struggle this whole game, and with Loath going down, a lot of Ohio Northern's hopes of staying in control are starting to fade. Millions has to be the player to step on up. He's already managed to grab a couple, and you're gonna have such a difficult time protecting anybody from the Wrecking Ball, contesting the Pharah in the sky. It's only a stall tool for Ohio Northern to get some more of this percentage ticked on up.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're actually winning this one out now. Ohio Northern, they backed up. Kean, they chased them off of the point after they got possession of it. They don't capture it. They give up the fight, too. That was a big misplay. They had the positional advantage, and instead they trace eliminations, not playing the objective there. Gonna be costly. They're gonna actually swap into an Echo of their own to try to take that mirror matchup as well.
A very wise decision from B-Comics. You'll get a lot more value and have more contention power against a player such as Loath. Now it's Kean having to force themselves onto the objective, and they've lost a couple players. Waffle Iron has managed to grab both supports. It's not Harry, the master of the clutch. Grabs 2 on the overclock. Still outnumbered. This is where Millions can come in big, but no, dive straight into the minefield. Even had the meteor strike in hand. So it'll be a point flip back over, but Ohio Northern managed to get in one fight territory.
Absolutely. They win one more fight, and they will be going to an extra round here on Lijiang Tower. Good news, their ult bank is still looking healthy. You look at their Doomfist ultimate as well as their Echo ultimate, that's great, but I'm looking at the Kiriko Kitsune Rush. I think that could be the big fight winner if they're able to find the fight they want. Right now, trying to find some targets out, not able to take out the Echo on the other side, but they are pushing Kean back slowly but surely, and that's the big thing. You want to force them on the point in one area, but they lose H50.
Yeah, H50 switching over to the Brigida. Even that isn't enough to stop Kane's focus fire. But beyond the objective once again, but they have no support to support them. The Kitsune Rush has to suffice for long enough. Low with the duplicate on over the hamster into play. Such a low health bar to work with. It's not nearly enough for Ohio Northern to sustain. Kean has them outnumbered and out damaged on this objective. While it was much closer than the map that we saw back on Gardens, Kean have looked dominantly in control throughout. But as we've learned, with any of these fast-paced competitions, it's going to take quite some time before they actually start to break through and these players go back to spawns fully.
Down barrier just going to be a celebration as Kean takes what is a very close second sub-map after a dominant first showing, as you mentioned. And I do like the adjustments from Ohio Northern. I will say that. It looks like they, say, hey, if they're going to run this chaotic kind of dive-ish comp, let's try to mirror them or at least match them. They don't go for the wrecking ball themselves, but the Doomfist spread out is a pick that can be very similar. I got to say, though, I think the Brigida was the big misfire there. They swap onto it late. They had the Mercy beforehand. I think if you're going to get rid of anything there, you get rid of the Kiriko if you want to go to the Brig. Because Brig can be self-sustainable. She does have some crowd control abilities, her shield bash, as well as her whip shot that will also add to her inspire ability that allows her to heal everyone passively. But the thing is, you need the Mercy in that comp because her whole thing is she just flies around healing all of your other characters that are running around, all your other heroes that have very high mobility. So that way she can get onto someone who's kind of weak, like the Echoes flying around, or maybe the Wrecking Ball who needs to hide for a little bit. But the Brig needs line of sight and, doesn't have that much movement besides the shield bash itself. Beyond that, they're kind of a sitting duck. So I think that was the one misfire Ohio Northern had there. I do like that they were able to at least battle back and make that second map competitive. But I got to see more from them going into the rest of the series. Because, again, they did beat Kean last time. They don't, they're not trying to win that, you beat us last time sort of battle. But right now, they're on the losing foot, at least to start things off.
And, here's the thing. I want to touch back onto Nightmark a little bit. You mentioned the Mercy having a lot of power to fly around different teammates, but what about the support that the Mercy was able to provide for somebody such as Loathe on the Echo? Northern Ohio would not have gotten on that point at all had it not been for the amount of work that we saw that Echo player put on in, and that's something you really are going to want to lean into. If it can't beat them at a more controlled composition, you gotta join the chaos, and that's what they did there. Heading into our next map, realistically, anything is game. King's Row, while many players and teams don't it as this is a brawl map, we must play Reinhardt to be honorable. No, that's not the case. It's very flexible. You can pull the dive, the Wrecking Ball, the Doomfist, everything is entirely possible, which might just be the thing that Northern Ohio need so that they can change up their game accordingly.
I think the one thing I would be a little bit concerned about is that I think Far is actually really strong on this.
Yeah.
At least on attack, I would say. Defense, a little bit less effective because generally you're being run into. But when you're the one running to them, when you're the one engaging on them, Farah can do some real damage in the sky. There's also no skybox until the third point. So you can just kind of run wild here. I think that's a little bit concerning because this is Ohio Northern's map pick. They do get to pick after losing the last one. So maybe they're trying to play for that third point where they feel like they can have a really good defense. Maybe they feel really confident in their attacking prowess just from the get-go, and then they can set the pace and the tempo going to the second map. I'm concerned about that, I will say. They tried to go for a high flyer as a counter instead. Maybe they go for a hit scan instead this time. An Ashe with a Mercy pocket could be a great counter to a Farah that's in the sky. A lot of question marks going into the second map.
A big thing to note for Ohio Northern, too, is that they did swap up a lot of their roles. Loathe and Harry were both tank players in last semester's team. Now they're taking up the position of DPS, which those have very different jobs within the composition of Overwatch, which, while we've seen quite a bit from Loathe, the Echo looks stellar, Harry was struggling to make a mark just with the amount of focus fire that was placed upon them. Ohio Northern now on the defense. This is quite an interesting direction that they're taking.
When we talked to Ohio Northern, they said they made these changes because all these players just played really well in these role swaps, so that's why they wanted to make them. Beans, though, taken out by their counterpart on support. Odie finally getting into the swing of things. That's a huge first pick on this fight.
Especially Kean, they have nowhere near close to the amount of support. That's an instant reset. Wait for your Baptiste to get back. Absolutely zero reason to push on forwards. Ohio Northern, though, they can play back. They can play it safe and just wait for a player to step out of position. But instead, it's Harry who gets caught out, and Ohio Northern are now backpedaling. They don't have any sort of speed other than the commanding shout. The Lucio, traditionally a player that you see in this, and it's going to prevent Ohio Northern from gaining a further retreat and possibly denying a second recontest altogether here. Millions had to throw themselves into the backline as a final-stitch effort, yet all it's going to lead to is Kean getting that point with so much time and not having a tank to defend with.
Comics definitely feeling themselves right now. They took the duel on the high ground, ran straight into Harry, won it out, and that was what opened that point wide open. Now the cart is moving. I mean, they're just continuing to win the duel against their counterparts on the side of Kean.
Kean right now, they are pushing on forwards. Ohio Northern are yet to regroup, and every pick that they get like this, Jag, those spawns and Kings Row defense are light years away comparison to those of the attackers. So Ohio Northern gotta get all 5 players back together, hold hands, walk on up, and that will be the good fight that they can take Harry trying to wrap around the high ground, find an off angle, which is good to do on a Sojourn with this composition. Yet they're not really paying attention to that. Harry doesn't have a ton of health to spare. AGU, though, still ends up going down. The Kiriko got up to heal Harry just in time. Was staying alive, trying to drop for denying usage of the Ant Matrix. Rick's position, dropping back around to the other end. It's a very scrappy battle, and one that Kean got to retreat from. Wonderful shot from Harry. Was just waiting for that moment to finally show up.
I think Harry heard me talking about their counterpart, Becomix on the other side, winning that duel. That time, they just took fate into their hands. But I will say the one bad thing about all this is that Ohio Northern gave up so much space. Usually you want to hold that first corner, that archway. It's such a good defensive stronghold. They've given it up, but they are still fighting back.
The Rampage committed on through on top of the Blizzard. Ohio Northern. Be a fight that they're going to look to win. They don't have a tank, though, and the fact that Millions went on through, Kean decided to just ignore that completely, walk on up, and with the trade of only the Blizzard, it's looking to be a second point capture, at least with how far Leo Leon is pushing on up. It doesn't seem that Ohio Northern realistically can get back in time for a contest here, Jag.
Yeah, I don't think they will. And worst comes to worst, they do have the May wall they could have used to cut everyone off. There it is, second point captured. And Keans looks really impressive. Especially considering this is a completely different play style than what they won on Lijiang Tower, where they are showing that they are very versatile, and they're just getting picks left, right, and center.
Oh, I mean, Becomix just goes up to the high ground, denying the angles, has the overclock, looking for a couple more. The Ramach, you might as well jump off the map at this point. You are as good as a dead, Millions. Ohio Northern. Oh, Pale didn't move that whole time. That's the one thing you can take away from it. We'll have more fights on the board, yet they need to actually find a way to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, I talked before about setting the pace. Ohio Northern, they have not been setting it. They have, in fact, been trying to roll the punches, and they are just getting punched over and over again. I'd love to see them initiate quick here. They have both DPS ultimates, but specifically using the Blizzard, try to get the sound barrier out could be huge. Make sure that he doesn't have anything defensive, because they have the Annihilation ready to go, and they might just throw it out here.
Have the Annihilation. Everyone's scooting their way out of the Blizzard. Well, the Frosted Winters didn't slow them up. Maybe the ones on the red side, AGUs will. Millions caught the Immortality Field. Impeccable placement. And then Maywalls to keep them alive. Ohio Northern showcasing incredible defense. Now Millions on their feet. Sound barrier in play. They want to push on up. But this is just the moment that Kean was waiting for. More specifically, Leo Leon. That's the Rampage, or excuse me, that's the Annihilation. Nobody in the way to stop this one. That's both supports and still hunting for more. Pushing toward the spawns. Couple of meters. Ohio Northern scrambling out to get a last-second touch. Going down in vain. It is a Kean 3.5-minute cap on Kings Row, Jag.
Oh my goodness. And one thing we gotta say about Kean is, like, last semester, last part of the season in fall of 2023, they played most teams very closely. They just were a team that couldn't seem to capitalize on their map wins throughout these series. They weren't able to get across the finish line at the end of the day. They weren't able to win those out cleanly. A lot of these went to map 4, map 5, and they had a 4-4 record during the regular season. They did have a really great upset win over Delaware in the playoffs, but still only finished 5th through 8th when all was said and done, got eliminated in the second round. This is looking like a championship team right here. They are taking the fight straight to Ohio Northern. And Ohio Northern, while they did have some answers on Lijiang Tower, at least on Night Market here, didn't really seem to get anything going. There was a really great play from Waffle Iron that I'm really glad we had the POV of, actually, so thank you, observers, for that, where they were just chilling on the high ground, waiting for some sort of engagement. They didn't even use their sound barrier for the blizzard that was thrown out from low on the other side. They just sped their team out, and then they were able to use the sound barrier way more impactfully later on in that fight that helped them get that full capture. 3.5 minutes is a lot of dang time to finish with, especially on King's Row. Kean is in the driver's seat, and Ohio Northern, they have to do something quickly because otherwise they're going to beat an 0-2 hole early on.
Kane's decision-making and macro play thus far have been impressive. Ohio Northern, it's Kean. They're driving the bus where this team is getting dragged behind, attached by the ankle with a rope, and it is not fun at all to roll with those punches. Now, with them basically mirroring this composition that they have from Kean, they'll be able to set up the tempo, trying to split these tanks off, guaranteeing an elimination, while having your Sojourns and Lucios control the space. The main essence of a composition such as this, and Harry getting the first pick off a wonderful opening that Ohio Northern needed very much. That's the speed amp on in. Immortality Field is out, yet they get a little bit more off than they can chew. They lose H50. There's no way out for their tank whatsoever, and all of that confidence suddenly gone. It's on to a player such as Harry to come on back, pick off 2 for Kean to finally hit the brakes.
I think they're just going to give this up for now, but there is a chance to recontest this if they want to. They still have their Lucio alive. They could give up 2 ticks and potentially go for the full team re-engage. We'll see if they do that. I don't think they will. I think they're just going to give this up and play for the archway. But this is going to be the big difference. Even though they gave up the first point and Ohio Northern has a lot of time, they're going to be able to have this archway on the defense. If they're able to hold this out for a while, that could be the big backbreaker later on for Ohio Northern on this attack. They need to break this hold quickly and try to get this cart moving because this is a defensive strong point. There aren't a lot of ways to break through it. But they're just going to run through it anyway. They just said, screw that. We're going to take the fight straight to you.
No fear. No fear at all for Ohio Northern, and this is the tempo that they want to play at. It might be absolutely nuts to push a choke like this one in the way that they just did, yet it's paying off, Jag. The amplification matrix is buying the space, you're securing the eliminations, and now you have the annihilation just to chase everybody back on down. Kean will lose so much time and space as a result. Ohio Northern, it's like we're watching a whole new team.
I said before, tempo is everything. Kean setting the pace on their attack here. Ohio Northern says, all right, anything you can do, I can do better. And here they are, finally initiating first, finally pressing Q first, using those ultimates aggressively, not reactively. And it is going very, very well for them. They still have both DPS ultimates as well as a sound barrier ready to go. So they really have everything locked and loaded that they would need to continue this push and potentially take this second point in record time.
They may very well snowball their way into this next point, huh? Get it? Get it? That's a frozen Leo Leon, the Immortality Field and Soundbreaker pumped on out. The tank is still standing on all 2 feet. Ohio Northern now has 2 of their resources on gone. The only one that remains would be the overclock, and Harry is going to get the chance to use it here and now, trying to fight through the blizzard. All the players from Kean wisely choosing to move around the corner, peek out from the Lucio. And it's just not the sightline that you wanted to have for an ultimate of that caliber. Ohio Northern so close, yet so far. 3 ultimates go down the drain.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Overclock can be super useful, but there, with that alleyway, you can see that Ohio Northern, they were just playing out of line of sight, out of range, and that is exactly what he needed to do to stay alive. And I gotta say, Ohio Northern, I think a big part of the reason why they found some success on this is because they swapped the Baptiste. That Immortality Field has been paying dividends for them, but they still need to get, you know, a little bit further here, and let's see if that Immortality Field comes out to save their tank. It looks like they're gonna save it for at least a little bit longer.
The discipline on these abilities is incredibly important. You would have liked it maybe for Waffle Iron, though. Ohio Northern, they're up. Leon knows it. You gotta use an ultimate to compensate, and it is just the thing to turn the tide on over. Nothing better. The 2 Ramatras holding their arms in front of their face, letting the teams clean up the dirty work.
And that's the thing. Even though they used the ultimate, that's a good investment. Stopping the Ohio Northern from being able to push any further, only having to use 1 overall, keeping your overclock, or your, so everything worked out there. It is a little expensive, but you're killing time off the clock. I mean, what was it, like 5:30 that Ohio Northern had when they originally started this. Now they're down to 2.5 minutes, so they are losing time. They're have some ultimates, but Kean's building up their ult bank in the meantime. I think that pace has been completely shut down now after some successful fight wins.
Oh, and H50 completely overextends there. That Matrix, it's gonna help clear the space on back, and I mean, just look at the space that Kean are willing to give up. Beans, unfortunately, though, goes the different direction than the rest of the team, and that is going to spell a problem for Kean. Unless they decide to commit this Blizzard, Ohio Northern have no realistic answer, and maybe you can even draw one out from below themselves. HEU already manages to get one. The tank is frozen, but on the other side of a Maywell, Kean, his own player, was working against them in this final scenario. Regardless of that fact, Ohio Northern seem to have gotten that tempo back in their favor. They'll be inching closer to this objective. Kean, though, are waiting in the wing. Did they decide to contest? It doesn't seem like it. They're going to opt to just hold the Foundry.
And if you're Kean, even though you give up that second point, you are not too unhappy of how this all went. You had a great hold at the end of this second point. You've already cost Ohio Northern so much time off the clock that there's no way they can match you in time bank. They're already under 3 minutes, so you're just continuing to stall, continuing to kill time off this clock, continuing to chew it up. And even if you lose a player like this, I mean, you force out ultimates, you do back up, so you're giving up space, but that Blizzard finds nothing, so it's not terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't do too much. Harry, though, the high ground with the overclock has worked magic with it once. Not exactly the second time around. Ohio Northern, rounding this final quarter, have the sound barrier in play. Harry able to scoot their way out of danger. H50's timing here needs to be perfect with this ultimate. Kean have so many plays to try to shut this down. H50 needs to choose which one it's going to counteract.
Already, like, another minute off the clock for only a bit of progress. You need to count the full point here to have any chance of winning this map. So the more time that goes by, the happier and happier Kean are going. Ohio Northern, you have a sound barrier. Maybe use it aggressively here. Maybe save it for the Annihilation. But it's going to be the Ant Matrix as well as the Annihilation. Every ultimate's coming out.
Yeah, Kean, they're trying to hinder this tempo as much as possible. Leon going to the back, the sound barrier, and Ant Matrix doing absolutely nothing with how ridiculously long these purple tendrils can attach to players. Yeah, Ohio Northern, you're getting sent back to the spawn, and it costs you a major price.
That was 3 ultimates there that did not find anything. Kean still has their overclock. They're about to have their Blizzard. There actually might be a bit of a flank Blizzard going on right here. We'll have to see.
Okay.
About to drop down from the top rope.
It's going to be a yeet and a half. Yes, people better look up. Check the radar. AGU coming down from above. That's 2 players. Throws it up into a popsicle. B Comics just there to play a good old cleanup with the broom. Ohio Northern have to come back, but they don't have a ton of time to work with now, Jag.
Now, under a minute, they do get at least one. So there's the Sojourn off the table. They also got 2 ultimates out there, which isn't that bad. But now they're going to try to find a Blizzard of their own. They're going to try to use this on the Ramatra.
Yep, perfect use. You guarantee 1 elimination and a perfect one at that. Now they can start to move up. Harry close to another overclock. And a bit of a feeling of deja vu. But it can't be the same results. Harry really has to be the tool for Ohio Northern to push this cart over the bricks. Kean are only closer to their own spawn rooms. Their return rate is incredibly high. With an Ant Matrix online, Beans will have you in her sights. Harry has to find the shot to hit, but no, it is Beans. I took down. Read it exactly how it was going to happen. Ohio Northern are down in hopes. They're actually just clawing at the air, hoping for some rope to come down and pull them back up to where they need to be. The payload only meters away from the finish line, yet it is never going to get there. Kean have wiped the squad for one final revenge part, and Ohio Northern might have won the duel last time around. Kean, though, keen to pick it up this one.
They are dominating so far, and when I say dominating, obviously this map pretty close. Comes down to the wire, comes down to that last point. Standing on Lijiang Tower, second sub map is close, but overall, just the story of this series has been Kean setting the compositions, setting the tempo, and even when they're losing fights, the way they're losing them is pretty smart. They're not using too many ultimates. They're not overextending for the most part. They're usually focusing on the objective. So even if they're losing out, they're usually throwing bodies at the point. So that way they're at least stalling it out for a bit. Like there have been very few mistakes. It's been almost flawless from them. And that is a big part of why they now had this 2-0 lead and are on match point going into map 3.
And that's what you look out from a team, and how you can really get an idea of who is the better squad in a regard. I mean, who's making these decisions? This is Kean's game, right? Or ONU, they're just here. They're playing into Kean's hands. And honestly, it looks like at points that they're able to come back. They're grasping at these lights of hope and are making it happen, right? They got pretty far on King's Row compared to what we may have guessed based on our map number 1, yet it's not enough to completely turn the tables into their favor. They're gonna have one more shot to actually get something done, and Flashpoint is a very difficult map to do it, especially with how Kean has been playing so far.
I do believe we're going to Escort next, though.
Oh, Escort, you're right! We even talked about this like 3 times, and I still forgot, but I'm here for it. Okay, I take it back. ONU still very much have a shot at this one.
Yeah, I mean, Flashpoint is one of the 3rd map types for some other leagues. I believe in calling on heroes as well, so there's definitely a lot of reason why I'd be thinking that, just casting the championship yourself. But Escort is going to add a little bit of a different element to this. We just saw a payload map, which, I feel like kind of gives you an idea of how these teams want to play. We did see some adjustments, at least from Ohio Northern. I like that they swapped off the Kiriko, like I said before, onto the Baptiste, go for that cool mirror matchup. But it's not going to be a brawl-centric map like King's Row. It's going to be Route 66, which has been a little bit of dive, a little bit of poke in the past. I'm curious to see how these teams will play this one out. I want to see ONU play to something that's more of their strength. We've seen them try to go for kind of these mirror matchups or these swaps that aren't exactly a mirror and aren't exactly a counter, more so just trying to match the kind of energy and pace that we've seen from Kean. I want to see them do it themselves. I want them to play a comp that makes sense for them. We haven't really seen a poke comp come out yet, so we could see like maybe double sniper, something along those lines.
Escort is the one map type where you're going to veer away from Brawl, so the door is open and fate is in ONU's hands on what they decide to do. I 100% agree with your statement. They need to move away from playing Kean's game and do something of their own. It's one of the few ways they will be able to make that comeback, because it's going to only start here. Not only would ONU have to win this map, but the next 2 after it to complete an entirety of a reverse sweep. A challenging task to begin with. And Route 66 must be the change of tide for the squad if they want those hopes to stay alive.
I hope I don't get the Jesse curse. My name is Jesse. I got Twin Salty, who's also on eSports U, who, and generally we're just finding 3-0s, 3 Overwatch, left, right, and everywhere else. Yeah, 3 Overwatch. I don't want that to be the case today. I do want to see these teams go to the wire, and that's what happened the last time they played. It was a 3-2 in ONU's favor, so if they want that same scoreline, it's now or never. They got to start the reverse sweep here. They're going to be going home during the first game of the season with a loss. Not the way you want to start your season out whatsoever. And they finished 7-1 last semester too. Like, this is one of the top teams. They were one of the favorites going into playoffs. They did fall a bit short. They were eliminated earlier than I think maybe expected. Did fall in that second round as well. So both these teams finishing 5th through 8th. Same final placement. But, I mean, Kean was 4-4. They were very much the definition of mid, at least in terms of that win-loss record. Not looking mid at all at the beginning of this. And now they have gone back to what we saw in that second point of Lijiang Tower. It's going to be the Wrecking Ball versus the Doomfist.
And Kean, great for them. This is a composition that Ohio Northern did not have an answer for, and based on what they're on, Reaper, Moira, Doom, even, like, that's not it. You're going to have to see some swaps come in, and unfortunately, the entirety of Ohio Northern didn't end up dying, so you're still on a lot of these same heroes as the payload goes on. I mean, B-Comics over here is already basically fighting on the second objectives.
This doesn't feel like a fight. This feels like they're just getting absolutely batted down. They are getting completely spammed out by this Pharah, and they don't have an answer. They lose their Reaper, who's supposed to be this big damage dealer, onto the tank. I kind of like the idea there, because if you go for the Wrecking Ball, it can work out. They do get the Wrecking Ball, though, so this could be a way for them to get into this.
The Sombra is a good player to swap to, just in the sense you can have the hacks, you can start to slow some players down, and she does put in a chunky amount of damage, and it's enough to set AGU down to an early grave. Ohio Northern, though, while they're slowly starting to grasp back into control, Kean will be back in this fight faster than you can blink. Iron is here to set the next tail.
I like this swap onto the soldier. Finally, they have some hits again to deal with the Pharah in the sky. I mean, Odie has been hitting shots on this Kiriko quite a bit, and we haven't been able to talk about it because their team not doing as hot, but so far, at least it's a 1-for-1 trade.
Odie has been making these trades happen. Altsune rush up. And still at a disadvantage. 4v3 currently in favor of Kean. Health bars, though, are going to tell me otherwise. Other one that Odie has managed to pick up has done insurmountable amounts of work on this Kiriko, a hero that has a great balance between damage and healing, and they're truly playing her to the max.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to make any more roll swaps to me, put Odie on DPS of how they're doing.
God. That's insane. Odie, you're going to have to teach me how to play Kiriko.
It's going really well, but I mean, these trades are still coming out. Like, it still seems like every time we're taking a reprieve, thinking the fight's over, there's going to be another pick. It's going to force out the coalescence on the side of Ohio Northern, but it just kind of keeps Kean at bay for now. And you can see as soon as that's over, they're going to try to re-engage this, and it forces out a Continuity Rush as a counter.
This isn't really a fight. It is a full-out brawl that has been going for essentially the past 2 minutes as a full. No team has been firmly in control at one point or another. It's scrappy, it's chaotic, ultimates flying left, right, and center. Ohio Northern, though, may have the last laugh. Tactical visor, aimbot is activated, and finally, Kean are nowhere to be seen.
And it only took 3 ultimates.
Only 3?
It sounds kind of sarcastic the way I said it, but honestly, it's worthwhile. Ohio Northern, they're holding on to this. They're stopping Kean from finally really getting anything here. They've gotten close to the point, but not enough here to actually get the full capture. They're down to less than a minute. And Kean, all they've got is the sound barrier. They will have those mines again, maybe barrage, but only if they're able to hit a few more shots. If Ohio Northern gets a pick here, especially having... Woo! Okay, there it is. They get the pick, and now they're into the fight.
But they're not on the payload! The minefield was there! Ohio Northern like, oh no, I don't want to be near that. Sure, but what about the whole objective of the game? The eliminations are nice, but the payload is where games will either be won or lost. And now we'll never know what Ohio Northern could have done in that first objective, because here we are on the second.
Minefield is a zoning ultimate, and it forces teams to do this. They have to back out. They don't want to fall to it. And it's a C9. It is a certified C9 that could have touched the point, but the Charlie Niner comes out to play, unfortunately. But the good news for Ohio Northern is they still hold on to that point for much longer than anything else they've held on to throughout this series. They get Kean's timing to under 3 minutes. And then remember, they finished King's Row of 3.5 minutes. So this is something, and they're giving up the objective. You can see Harry now on the point. They do lose Odie, so not great, but it's a trade immediately.
The trade immediately, but you have to argue here the Kiriko, a much more valuable trade-off in this situation. And now you even have the resurrection on the other side. It's not like AG even has to bother walking back from the spawns. This is that tempo we're talking about. Kean aren't bothering to move the payload. They're prioritizing winning the fight first to get greater progress that is clean, so that they're not playing nearly as scrappy as we would like to give them credit for in this situation. Millions is doing a nice job of trading it out, allowing Ohio Northern to come on in, yet it just causes more staggering.
That's the thing. Usually when you have a team fight, it's just like you're gonna eliminate everyone on the field. It's gonna be 5 down in spawn coming back. But here, this is just absolute chaos. It's absurdity. There's never that clean swipe of the team. There's not all falling at once, so it's just all over the place. Ultimates being used all over the place, and the payload almost gets C9'd again.
And not this time, though. Ohio Northern making sure this is a nice, clean fight that they have the potential of winning. That's 1, 2, 3 ultimates now popped on in. Wonderful Suzu keeping Loath alive. And Ohio Northern managed to wipe Kean once again. This is where things started to go bad last time around. So many tools, but now they have to actually hold the payload.
The big difference here, though, is that Harry has the EMP. You know what? Cancels Minefield EMP. So if they keep it long enough, we'll look for the right moment. That Minefield that made them have the Charlie Niner last time won't matter. Yeah, this is the second time we've seen Reaper on this map. A bit surprising we saw it at all.
Reaper is such a strange pick right now, and I mean, Leon just doesn't have the same amount of support. You're running the Lucio Mercy, which is fine when you're playing very mobile targets, but Reaper and Soldier, they require a lot more of that in-fight healing. Kean perhaps have made a critical judgment error here, and it could cost him this map. They only have 18 seconds left to go on this clock, and it's not going to be a full push.
I'm not really sure what the Reaper is here for, who the target is. Doomfist isn't going to work as well against it because Doomfist is like one of the smaller tanks in the game model-wise, so you can't really get all of that splash damage like you would otherwise. That's going to be the Minefield, the EMP, as I said, thrown in perfectly to cancel out all those mines. You got to be careful because they do end up coming back online eventually, but it looks like at least all that hack almost cancels the sound barrier.
Yeah, it was a close one. Kean, though, doesn't really seem to matter in the end. This Reaper swap is so strange. You're just instantly dead. You can't get close to anybody to do significant damage. You're getting CC'd left and right. And Ohio Northern, they're going to take the stop on the second objective despite the early run of momentum we saw from Kean.
This is huge for Ohio Northern because finally they stop Kean from taking the full point, the full map. And it's an interesting sort of combination of how they get there. It's some swaps, some choices from Kean that didn't pan out. While I was saying before, they were playing pretty flawlessly. Again, that Reaper pick I think we'll be scratching our heads about for a little while. But I think that Somber pick was huge. It really shows down what Kean wants to do here. It doesn't deal with the Pharah directly. That's what the Soldier does. But it catches the Wrecking Ball out. If you're hacked, you can't move away. The EMP, like we saw, like we talked about, cancels that minefield. So these changes, Ohio Northern maybe finally has cracked the code here for counter composition, and it's keeping them alive in this series. Again, they're down 2-0 right now. They are facing series point if they lose this map out, and being able to stop it on point 2 gives them a lifeline. It means they can win this one out cleanly without having to go to extra rounds, and if they don't, it's game over.
Now, Ohio Northern have now shown us that they can stop Kean's momentum. But they're going to need to find that wave of momentum themselves. And I can guarantee you, Jag, they will not be expecting this comp on the defense.
Whoever Kean's coach is, like, give them a raise. Because these compositions are just crazy wacky. But this could work out hugely. I mean, they're expecting, I'm assuming, the Wrecking Ball again now. Said, hey, it's Zarya. This bubble can go out onto the Pharah, allows the Pharah to play much more aggressively with the projected barrier, absorb some damage, gives more damage potential to the Zarya, and also Waffle Iron going to the Ana, higher healing. The anti-nade could be huge. There's nothing on the other side besides the cleanse to get rid of it, but as soon as I said that, it just ends up falling.
And the resurrection! That's the even better play there, is canceling that res. Millions had the read on that, knows what Beans was trying to go for, an instant swap off the Pharah. Kean, they're already being swapped off. It's crazy that the way that the tempo has changed. Kean are now playing into Ohio Northern's hands off the picks and changes that they have pulled out. Moving around this gas station often can be a very tricky part of Route 66 first objective because it's not easy to stay up there on an attacker's perspective. Kean needs to drop down in order to get an actual fight, which will Leon doing just that. I don't know, maybe they'll take more advantageous fights if they don't have the players to do it just yet.
I mean, I still like what Kean's trying to do here. They make the swaps immediately from the onto the Cassie. That magnetic nade is going to be really nice at slowing down Millions. Or the sleep dart. There's so much crowd control they have. It's going to be really hard to play this Doomfist into this, I think, now.
But the fact that Millions is still getting the value that they are, like knocking players off of high ground or into loads or Harry's sightlines, that is just exactly what you need to be doing on the Doomfist, even if you're not in the kill feed all the time. Kean are being torn apart by Millions, and there's nothing really that they've been able to show for it. The payload is still on the move. Kean are yet to fully regroup. Beans wasn't able to pull off a revive either, so they're still fighting down a player, and now they've evened the fight on up. Loath, Tac Visor into the background, H50 cleaning up the tank. The test potential significantly lower. Deadeye on the top. That's not going to get you a contest. The rest of the team must drop back onto the payload just to be flashed into pancakes. It's a couple ultimates from Ohio Northern, and just the ones that they needed to put Kean on their backs.
I feel like this series went from this nice, clean 5v5 fighting to just a barroom brawl of how this has been going. Absolutely all over the place. The swaps, the ultimates, it's just absolute chaos. But Ohio Northern, they are winning it out at the end of the day. 4 minutes to get it to the golden box of victory. The Kitsune Rush ready to go. They have now swapped again to the Reaper. It did not work out well for them the first time, but I do like this pick, seeing the Winston coming out. This makes a lot of sense to me. This is where it has made the most sense to me, because Reaper has just generally been a great counter to Winston, because you can just, like, absolutely chip them down.
You can certainly do that. That on Winston isn't really going to be chipped down, though. A lot of extra health and the damage reduction corralling Ohio Northern into a corner. Leon still respecting the damage that is being outputted and will eventually pull a retreat onto that one. Careful not to overextend.
just a good engage. Kean, they go in with the Nano Winston immediately, one of the winningest combinations in the game. Didn't look like Wolves really had any way to engage with that. But now that there's going to be no Nano at their disposal, I mean, here's the thing. Like, Reaper self-heals, and this is a lot of burst damage onto the Winston. That's what you're trying to do. Every time the Winston engages, you're trying to throw the Reaper straight into them as a counter. But I don't think Love has really been able to find this Winston just yet. So Leon has been kind of able to run around the map, already very close to now getting that Primal Rage online.
With how long you have to walk in order to get to the Winston, I mean, you're not going to get there fast, especially with AJU, Overclock, or even just existing in general. And the fact that Ohio Northern are alive at this point is rather a miracle. Odie knows it. That's the Kitsune rush down, hoping to have those extra putouts, have some healing. Nice sleep dart, the nade. I mean, that's Waffle Iron chucking their entire kit towards the tank of Ohio Northern, and it's enough to get them out of the picture, and Kean can focus down on one target at a time. They're slowly putting the reins around this wild beast that Ohio Northern have been. And now, this is becoming a much more close game than what we've seen thus far.
It is indeed Primal Rage ready to go, so if Leon falls too short, they can pop that and immediately get 1,000 health, so they're going to be in a pretty good place to go aggressive. You can see that there's so many angles being taken, but it's going to be the Soju from Kean who falls first.
They're going down to trade out. They want to drop the Primal Rage in the back line just as an attempt to stay alive. Kean have the numbers in this regard. Should be okay for the time being. Load though. Death Blossom will be coming on up, and that pick from Millions. Suddenly, that gate is swinging wide open. Ohio Northern, they're done knocking. They're just busting straight on through the door. All the ultimates that they have saved up. This is the time for them to make an appearance. They know that they're close, and this series is not done just yet. Ohio Northern officially are on the board.
No 3 Overwatch today. We are going to map 4, and we might actually see that flashpoint you were talking about before if we have our way. It's going to be pushed next, but I think the biggest thing is right now Ohio Northern, they are pushing the buttons of Kean, finally able to battle back, finally able to deliver a decisive blow here on map number 2. This composition, it was wacky at times, but at the end of the day, they build up their alt economy, they push through on this second point of Route 66, and they're able to get a W for themselves. That's a big momentum shift, I must say, especially after getting a nice defensive hold here on attack. There were some moments where it looked a little wishy-washy, but overall, they just continued to push the payload.
Jag, it was the full-on Wild West out there today on Route 66, and you said it before very well. You said it was like a bar fight that we've gone through, from this organized like gameplay that's working like clockwork. It just all went up in flames. It's gone. And with that escort map, Ohio Northern were able to find their ground, and look what Kean had to do. They switched up their game entirely, and it was not a good look from them while that was happening. And now they're going to be going to the next map. Yes, that will be in their control, and you do have to wonder, with the push maps in general, Kean will be able to go back to this brawl composition they were working incredibly well on earlier. Will Ohio Northern, do you think that they're going to be able to carry this success into the next map, considering what's going to change on their opponent's side?
Big question mark right now. Kean has that advantage as they have won the first 2 maps, which means even if they lose this one, they still have the map pick throughout the rest of the series. So they do have at least that going their way after losing this first map. It's going to be New Queen Street, which I think is a good pick. I was going to say, if you want to, well, I mean, maybe, I'm trying to think about this in my head really quickly. I guess if you wanted to go like very brawly, you would have picked Coliseum. I think that's the best for brawl because that has the tightest corridors, that has the most areas kind of the map. There wasn't a lot of high ground to contest. There is high ground overall, but just at least on that starting point of the map, winning that first fight can be very advantageous. New Queen Street is a little bit of a mix because there is high ground in the middle, but usually you don't contest that. It's more so once you push it towards one spawn side that you go for that high ground more so than not. I think the biggest mistake would have been choosing Esperanza, because that would have just allowed a lot of high ground all over the map. So I think this is kind of the middle ground, at least the second best choice, not the worst choice for them. Maybe they have something else cooking. I mean, we have seen that Kean is very flexible. I think it's the biggest thing we've seen from him, is that they've usually been setting the tone. They've usually been setting the compositions played by both teams overall. That time over 66, they ended up getting counterplayed as the map went on, but here they have another chance to do that once again.
Well, the opportunity, put that tempo back into play. But the matter of which they do it, that's entirely up in the air. Similar to King's Row, you have some wiggle room, you could say, here on New Queen Street today. I'll have to take that direction. Ohio Northern, on the other hand, keep millions on this Doomfist because my goodness, did that have an incredible effect on the outcome of today. I said it before, the disruption tool that the Doomfist provides, that CC was enough to throw Kean off balance once. Not an easy task, considering they're back on this rumble.
Yeah, the Ramatra is going to be much more difficult to just run straight into with this Doomfist. There's so many tools to push you back. The wall could be basically the end of you. If you get caught behind the May wall and you don't have any abilities up, you might not be able to punch out of that one, so Ohio Northern might have to go back to the drawing board. You can see them actually getting kind of pushed out right now as Kean tries to make this rotation onto their high ground, but will at least be able to try to punch in with their own Doomfist.
Yeah. And see, here's kind of the problem, right? Is Doomfist, while a great tank, you don't have a front line. Leon can just walk straight onto Ohio Northern and really not even take much damage from it at all. So I'm seeing the switch over from Millions. While it is sad to see the Doom take a back seat, it's a very necessary swap.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're going to see Love go to the Reaper, so this seems to be a pick that they really prefer. This could work out. You got to think, though, Ramatra does have the shield, is able to absorb some damage when they're going into their block mode, so that's a Reaper moment, but not a fun Reaper moment at all. I mean, the May just is so much within this meta, and unless you're literally just giving your enemies a hug, Reaper does not do any damage at all. So Ohio Northern, I mean, they're going to stick on it. They still think that it's going to be the answer, and you better hope so, because Kean are just about to hit that first checkpoint, and if these forward spawns are capped, it's a momentum boost that is incredibly difficult to come back from, and there's not even going to be a contest on it in the first place, Jag. Ohio Northern, they're opting just to back up, and they don't even have all of their players to do it. They're still pushing on in. Big Comics is confident to stagger this out. Kean suddenly are steamrolling in the exact same way we saw on maps 1 and 2. And they do lose their Sojourn, but as a wise man backbone once told me, May is just a better Hanzo, and I think we're seeing that come right into fruition. Tankier can still hit headshots, enables something like a Ramatra of their wall to go in with an Annihilation just like they are right now, and like you said, Kean has not stopped pushing. They do have to use their Mortality Field to keep the Ramatra alive, but look at all the space. They've gotten 80 meters, and there's still 7 minutes to go. I mean, they might be going for the full cap here. They might end this map before the timer even ends.
With the way that they've been managing their ultimates, Jag, this is entirely possible. Ohio Northern must flip this bet into their favors now. Otherwise, they are saying goodbye to this series. And already it's not looking too hot. H50 went down before the sound barrier can make an appearance. Millions free to walk on forwards. The Annihilation doing just enough to push Kean on back. We're not quite at a point of no return. It's so darn close, though, that one more fight win from Kean could just be the thing to send Ohio Northern home.
Yeah, right now if you're Ohio Northern, you want to push this as far as you can. Obviously, you want to get some progress of your own, but you're really just trying to keep this push bot away from where that barrier ended up for Kean. They pushed so far. They already got the spawn advantage, which they will now, unfortunately, lose as that goes across the middle, but it allows them to re-engage with this so quickly that they win this fight. It could be last fight territory if they're not able to win this out on the side of Ohio Northern.
This is going to be a problem. You have all of the tools to win a consecutive fight right now. Things must go seriously wrong for it to not go your way, and it already has. The trade is there, and an ultimate is gone. Harry must land the shots now. So if Ohio Northern, you don't win this, oh, there may not be a comeback in the cards for you today. Thankfully for them, there's more blue in the kill feed than red. A late stacker onto Leon, all the better.
Yeah, that means it's going to be a little bit more push for this bot. There was at least a nice play from Kean, I would say, to move the push bot back just a little bit. It means that there's more time being killed off the clock, because really all that they do is stall this out. They already have a very decisive lead. They can lose a few fights here or there and then back off, take better positioning, and just continue to hold that advantage. We'll have to see if they decide to play like that or play a bit more aggressively. But I think for Ohio Northern, I mean, the big thing is they have this huge ult bank to use at their disposal, so they cannot lose fights, you know, and use ultimates. They have to win these ones out quickly and decisively.
Yeah. Quick and efficient as well. You don't want to be using all 3 of your ultimates within this battle, and Kean can just save up what they have. It doesn't take much to turn this robot right back around. They'll get way more value out of any fight that they end up winning. Ohio Northern, that was only the sound barrier. Counteraction to an matrix. We're now going to see coming on out. But the complete and utter disrespect from B. Comas peeks it out anyways and grabs Odie off the back. Ohio Ohio Northern. They must win this quickly. They're sustained as taking a serious blow. Millions having to fight this one out towards the front as the ultimate hopped a little bit longer. It's the Blizzard knocking them all into place. Kean back in control.
And the big thing there is that Waffle Iron has a sound barrier when the Annihilation is used by Millions. Unfortunately, H50 used it aggressively just moments before. They tried to use those extra shields to be aggressive, try to run straight into them and win the fight quickly, but they don't. And then they have no counter to the Blizzard, to the Annihilation that comes out from Kean. And now that Pushbot is going the exact opposite direction that they want it to.
Pushbot turned right back around on its heels. Ohio Northern gonna be able to push back on up with only the overclock. That's the quick and efficient fights. We need to see more out of them. Over half the time bank has gone down to dust. A stagger here is all the more worthwhile.
It is indeed. That means that Kean is not going to be with their main for at least a little bit longer. Again, going back to the middle of the map. This actually isn't too bad for Ohio Northern. They got the pushbot pretty far. They have a death claw, something they might should go for a flank for. They win this fight, they're going to get forward spawn, and they can get very close to at least tying this up or getting close to it.
Important battle ahead. Kean doesn't have a ton to work with. Only an matrix from Beans. If both can manage to get in there with the Death Blossom, at least trade it out for one. It's just enough value for Ohio Northern. Get these last couple meters that they need. Immortality, though, is forced early. Load, you have to strike here and now. That's a couple players in, but the immortality and timing impeccable. Beans grabbing the player out from underneath them. And now it is an even trade back and forth. That is correct. The amplification matrix forcing the remainder of Kean back. Millions can walk it up and now grabs one, not two of the supports. And as those forward spawns capped, Jag, we may just be on the verge of an Ohio Northern comeback.
Might be indeed. The Death Blossom doesn't work out the way they want it to, but it forces that mortality field. They use the amplification matrix, and well, maybe they wish they used it around the corner. It does force Kean to back up, gives them the space they need to actually take this point. And now they are only 30 meters, even less than that now, and counting from being able to tie things up, taking the lead, and Annihilation ready to go. Waffle Iron does not have sound barrier, and they are already putting so much pressure onto this Baptiste.
As they should be. If that Baptiste goes down, Ohio Northern might as well say hello to that lead. But they're backing up and giving up this space without really taking any fights. They're just scared of what Kean are able to do. And now that they have these ultimates, they must push back on up. It's not going to be easy to get back to the point which they were earlier at. They're doing as much to force all of the ultimates out of Kean. They've gotten 3 down so far in comparison to their 2 and are still up in terms of the players in the kill feed. Harry must stay alive at this point in time, and they end up going down. Yet Millions pushes on forwards. The lead, oh my gosh, Jag, it's in their sights.
It is indeed, but unfortunately what's not in their sights right now is Harry, who is in respawn. Their only ultimate on the table is going to have a bit of a way to go. At least they have that closer spawn after getting to that first checkpoint, so shouldn't actually be too big of a deal. The big thing is that Amatrix from Odie has to be coming online soon, because Beans already has theirs, could immediately use it just right away to try to catch Kean off, or try to catch Ohio Northern off guard, and there it is, right away, quickly.
Oh, but Beans ends up going down. Millions disregards the Ant Matrix, says screw that, I'm gonna walk straight on through it, and it pushes all of Kean back. They lost their tank. The sustain was too much. The window was way too far forwards to get value, and Ohio Northern, they've gotten the lead back in control. Kean, this is gonna be pretty darn impossible for them to flip it around.
Well, that lead has been given over Ohio Northern. They are making the comeback. You said it was possible. It is looking like a reality right now. And now it's just a disengagement. Ohio Northern, they don't want to push their luck. They got what they came for. They still have the forward spawn advantage. And now they can regroup, play for this next fight. And the tables have turned absolutely. They can just play the kill time off clock. They can just play their advantage. And really, if they win this fight right here and continue to push this bot, I think it's over. But it's going to be the overclock from Harry, trying to make up for the pick onto H5-0.
Ohio Northern realistically don't even need to win this fight. Them coming out on top of it and forcing an overclock, that's honestly just a bonus. They are staggering it out, and that is the thing that will come back and punish them if they aren't capable. Kean are a team that, as we've seen with their planning and their control over a macro game, they very much can make a comeback if their opponents let their guard down.
Oh no, that's a big misplay by Millions. Caught out there. I mean, I guess the one thing is that push bot is so far back that they'll still get another chance to recontest it, but they could have contested here on the corner. They're almost guaranteed to give up this forward spawn now, so that's going to actually be Kean potentially with another lifeline if they... You know, they lose this fight, they sell it out long enough, maybe someone's able to get back.
It's gonna be one fight.
Like Lucio if they're able to speed boost. But yeah, this is last fight right here, right now. It's gonna be the Blizzard being used first.
Ohio Northern, they've worked so hard to get here, but their one ultimate is gone, done, and dusted. Kean are making the comeback when they thought it was impossible. They just wanted to dangle the carrot in front of Ohio Northern and give them the chance. They have to get on the point. You're right, but the amplification matrix is making this push all the more difficult. Sound barrier and Blizzard thrown on out. Last ditch effort. These must land into somebody to his bolt supports. Though when we thought Ohio Northern, they're not done digging, they have struck gold. As bolt supports out of the picture, Millions returning on their signature Doomfist. It's another brawl towards the end. At the end of the day, though, Ohio Northern, their spawns are closer, and they have managed to push them off of the payload. Jag, we are not done just yet. Ohio Northern are pushing the series to a map 5.
The reverse sweep dream is alive and well. It is... there's got to be some sort of adjective to show how incredible this is, but it is just incredible that Ohio Northern is able to turn this series around. They go from an 0-2 start to some close calls here. They bring it out at the end of the day. This looks like it was going to be Kean all the way running away with this map, but instead Ohio Northern, they battled back. They showed dominance in those last few minutes, and they're able to win that last fight out. Kean making their comeback, still cannot do enough. And map 5, it is guaranteed now. We're going to be going all the way the full distance here in this series.
Well, Jag, the Jesse curse certainly is done for the day. There might be another one on the table. Leighton's curse certainly active. Map number 5 on the corner. We will get to see that Flashpoint map I teased earlier within the series. It was meant to be today. I just knew beforehand. Northern Ohio University, I mean, you've made it this far, right? They have beaten Kean on the composition that destroyed them back on map number 2. What is left to stop them from riding this wave of momentum, turning it into tsunami, and just flooding Kean out of the picture? They want to have the second victory over them, even with all of the changes they've made through their roster.
So again, the one advantage that Kean does have throughout all this is they get to pick the map. So they get to pick either New Junk City or Saravasa. A lot of choices for Flashpoint.
So many choices
on the board, all 2 of them. But the big thing is that when you look at Flashpoint, what does it play most similar to? Control. Those are the 2 map types that probably have the most in common out of the bunch. You won Control, and you won Control pretty decisively, at least on that first sub-map of Lijiang Tower. So you can say, hey, maybe run that comp back, we go for the far. Yeah, it didn't work on Route 66, but that's also different. As a defender on Route 66, you can set up your defense much more easily. On a map like Flashpoint, on Control, you're running at each other. You're vying for position. You're not giving it free like you are when it's attacker sided or defender sided. So these advantages that you won out on Control, they're going to be here on Flashpoint. So you got to be feeling good if you're Kean, or you got to at least give yourself some hopium that because you went out on Control previously, you can take those advantages again here on Flashpoint.
Exactly. Flashpoint is a map type that feeds into that chaos, and Kean did an excellent job playing off of that back on Control. And, you know, when we're looking ahead into this game, what we've seen so far is this ultimate usage. How is that really affecting these teams? Well, there have been some misplays, overcommitments at times. Ohio Northern have managed to clean it up, and it has gotten them all the way to a map number 5, where the series will now end on the beautiful streets of India, Saravasa, for the choice, the more popular map out of the 2, yet it's one that can favor this Wrecking Ball Farah Tracer if they choose to pull it out.
You know, it's really interesting that I feel like most teams really prefer Saravasa. I feel like New Junk City has some weird high ground elements in certain points. Saravasa feels a bit more straightforward, but you know, it's also going to be pretty straightforward. These compositions are not going to be going for the Chaos comp on the side of Kean like we saw on Lijiang Tower. They want to go for that Brawl mirror matchup. The big thing, no more Sojourn. Instead, they're going to be going to Soldier. A little bit more self-sustained with that heal pack. Also has that run ability, so potential movement all the time, but Ohio Northern, they're going to be sticking to the tried and true that just won them out on push on a new Queen Street. They want to stick with this Reaper Brawl.
They're going to stick with it, and As interesting as it was, it might puzzle our brains as Caster Loath has found a way to make it work against all odds, and this is the situation where it can happen. You are forced to run at your opponent. Those gaps are closed a lot faster, so if you're able to get up in the face of Leon, it works out. But if you stay further back, you have to deal with B Comics. You're not going to have even close to the same amount of damage output, and now the Soldier 76 kind of run rampant onto your team. Kean are up in a 4v3 type of battle. The Maywalls helping them secure that final pick onto the tank player. Ohio Northern will be foregoing his first capture percentage.
I didn't even notice this, but Kean rolled out with a Moira. Not something that you'd expect traditionally with how Brawl has evolved over the years. Baptiste's kind of been that standard main healer flex support, but Moira makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, if that mortality field's getting taken down really quickly, why even bother with it? Moira does an insane amount of healing with her heal orb, and at the same time, she can just putting out even more healing, or she can be doing damage with self-heals herself. So it's not necessarily the same utility for the team, but there's so much more healing potential with her, and they are just running through the side of Ohio Northern with it.
Ohio Northern right now don't have the same pace, and that's the big thing to note is May dictate that pace. Lucio, Mora, they dictate that pace, and now you have Coalescence just to push it even further. Ohio Northern, they're gonna back off around the corner, at least try to kite it out, but instead it's a static sound barrier and the App Matrix used at the same time. It's not gonna do anything though. Leon is already in the middle of your team. Who's gonna end up shooting him? Absolutely nobody. It's a big misstep here from Ohio Northern. That's 3 ultimates where they're getting no value, and in maps such as this, Flashpoint is very unforgiving when it comes to such decisions. Kean, they are on overtime right now and are looking to take this first round 100-0.
Just like on Control, 100-0 for that first point here on Flashpoint, and I love this Moira pick. I know I just talked about it, but look at Beans. Just use the Coalescence, 65% on that ultimate. So it's just going to be up all the time because Beans is essentially just pocketing Leon, just giving them all the healing in the world with the heal orb, is able to use the primary healing if needed, but otherwise is able to use so much damage on the side, and it's an aimbot assist. You don't have to aim with it. And Ohio Northern, they do have at least DPS ultimates coming up. Already have the Overclock, looking for now the Death Blossom, but I mean, they're going to run straight into this May Blizzard on the other side.
They're all able to get out safe and sound. Now it's Ohio Northern to strike on back. The Comics, though, has the aimbot. The high shots of damage aren't going to do much if you're not hitting him, Harry. That's 1 and 2. Low Death Blossom. Okay, that doesn't do as much. Thankfully, your DPS buddy has it all evened out. Ohio Northern, though, they're not safe, and that's the sad part is they commit so much, but they don't gain enough value out of it. Kean, though, are committing the sound barrier on top of everything. They're in control of the point. They don't realistically even need to do this with how scattered and broken Ohio Northern already is. I mean, they're just pulling ultimates as they manage to get them up, hoping they can make it run on back to pick onto Beans. Perhaps the one to finally turn the tables, but so late into this objective of Palace. Kean have already capped well over half, nearly 60% of the first objective before there's even a tick of blue on it.
I think you can see a little bit of desperation there from Kean. They had this series in hand, and all of a sudden, they've given up 2 maps in a row. They are down to a map 5. They try to force the sound barrier as a way to stabilize on that point. They do get some extra percentage in the bank, which is going to help them potentially if they win one more fight, but they give up quite a bit of ultimates. They give up quite a bit of time overall, and now Ohio Northern, they have their own sound barrier, which could be a huge initiation tool if they play their cards right. They know that there's no Annihilation on their side since it was just used. They might try to save it for the Blizzard, but honestly, if I'm them, I would say go for it. Just go in, have that extra shield to protect yourself, and just run them over.
They don't even need it, though. They're just doing the whole on speed. Late for that opportunity. Once the resources are low, the cooldowns of the opponents are gone. Then you can push that extra advantage. Not only will the sound barrier guarantee the fight win, but also Ohio Northern overtaking Kean in terms of percentage. They'll have the chance to touch if they really desperately want it, but it's not going to be pretty by any means.
Yeah, I don't think they do here. I think Kean realizes this is not a winnable situation. They lose their tank so late. Leon is the last one to fall, gets staggered out. So they're going to give this up. Just move to the next point. 1-1. Not the end of the world quite yet. But as we move on to our next flashpoint, this is one that could be detrimental. You win this one, either team is going to be up 2-0 on flashpoint and match series point. There's so much at stake here. And I think the big thing is Kean, they have the ultimates. I want to see them use it right here to win this first fight. Coalescence could be huge. Just win this one out right away.
At the very least, Coalescence is a cooldown. Pull that one out. Anything else on top is just to ensure that you can come away with the battle. Problem is, neither of the two that were committed got any value. So now that those resources are gone, Ohio Northern are choosing to react. And the fact that it's working is absolutely insane. They're pushing on up, and yet it's 3 ultimates down the drain. I mean, how many times have we seen that today alone, Jag? Where Ohio Northern, they go in, they have the ultimate advantage, they let Kean use everything, nothing works out, they dump out 3 of their own, and they still end up losing.
I think that's just, you got to be disciplined. You have to realize and understand when a fight is lost. There's nothing wrong with losing fights here and there. If you're able to keep your ult bank healthy, if you're able to rotate and get back to the point in time, it can work out in your favor. Then your ult bank, I mean, they could be coming into this with 3, 4 ultimates, and Kean would have, what, 1, 2? So instead, they try to force the fight when it wasn't needed, and now they're looking at not a good situation, looking at a very bad situation for themselves because they really don't have that much to bring to the table, and Kean's already gone 50% on this third flashpoint.
Yeah, Kean's in control. The Blizzard helping filter players through one small angle just where Kean wants them. They know they'll use the speed to try to escape, so the rest of them are just sitting ducks for the pickings. Ohio Northern seem to be foregoing a second objective, that late stagger, guaranteeing their fate. Kean only winning points, apparently, if they can get him 100-0.
The only way to do it, the best way to do it, really.
Exactly, best way to do it.
So it's going to be the second point going over, or third point, second point for Kean going their way. And now they are on series points. So this is when the pressure is on. And this is where the Coalescence, again, is so important because they have it ready to go once more. It's an ultimate that's basically up every other fight, and it allows them to potentially withhold, Ohio Northern if they use the sound barrier here.
Have the sound barrier coming on up, especially expecting the Coalescence every single fight. Anything else on top of it has to start to find some value. And in this case, it is millions annihilations. You grab May, and suddenly you are so much freer as a tank to move around the map, assuming you have health got dangerously low there. And thanks to the extras of Odie and H50, the tank is still on their feet. And Kean seeming to have to forgo this first objective unless they keep trying to push more resources into it, which they wanted to do so, but they ran out of it. The sound barrier! Did that even hit?
That was, I mean, we didn't see it on our stream, but I saw the ultimate go off, and then I immediately saw 0% dead back and on. So that, we're going to assume that was an Ajax. That could have been a huge fight-winning ultimate. Again, desperation. Kean, they try to force that there, and they lose out on the fight. They lose it on one of the most expensive ultimates in the game, and that could be it. Ohio Northern could win this point outright and force a 5th flashpoint just off of that alone.
Well, if we're sticking with the pattern so far, Kean only win points if they can get him squeaky clean without a dent on the record, and as of now, that is impossible. Ohio Northern firmly in control. They don't get any value, and H50 gets cut off way far out on an off angle. So now, Ohio Northern, they're in big, big trouble, even more so. Kean seem to have to gain control of this objective, and the biggest thing to take away from this, Jag, is they didn't have to use any of their major resources to do it.
They did not at all, and I saw 3 ultimates from Kean come up at literally the exact same time. The May, the Ramatra, as well as the Moira all getting their ultimates right in a row, and Kamek's not too far off from that tactical advisor, so it didn't seem too bad. I mean, they still don't have the sound barrier, which could have been a huge fight-winning tool here, but they have ways to win this one out. They lose this fight, it's going to be the point going to Ohio Northern. It's going to be 2-2 here on this flashpoint, so they know how important it is to play this one right. They're going to run in immediately with the Blizzard.
You run with the Blizzard, get one elimination, potentially a second off the back, and yeah, that's a pretty done deal right there. Ohio Northern just have to reset, knowing that this next fight could be their last.
And that was so clean because that's one ultimate. It's only the Blizzard, nothing else. Ohio Northern, they end up losing that fight so quickly, they don't really get any ult percentage off of it. They already had the annihilation. They do get some points closer to get that sound barrier, so that's the one advantage they will have going to this, is that they could potentially survive through an annihilation for a little bit. But overall, Kean is looking like the much better, well-equipped team here. They have more resources, more major tools here to win this one out and just run away with this series.
And Kean, they popped it first, yet Millions managed to squeak their way over the top of a May wall. So it's an even 4v4. sound barrier came on through. It's done and gone. Kean, this is their time to strike, knowing that this very well could be the last fight to stop this momentum that has been pushing them back. They want to drown the hopes of Ohio Northern here and now to shut it all down. The Matrix, one last attempt from Odie to put the momentum on Adapter, yet it is not enough. We saw the signs of hope. Ohio Northern, they got it. They made it to map 5, just couldn't close it out in the end.
What a performance from Kean. The mental fortitude to be able to withstand a potential reverse sweep going to map 5. You're able to pull it out. And yes, he gave up one flashpoint, but it's a 3-1 victory, which isn't squeaky clean, but still pretty clean overall. The adjustments were made. The Moira pick, again, I can't talk about how much I love it. I think this was exactly what they needed. All that extra healing to really enable them to be able to run through the team, even with the mistakes, even with the Ajaxes, even with giving up momentum halfway through the series, they still are able to get some revenge against Ohio Northern, who beat them last season. Now, they are no longer the team that only goes the full distance just to lose. They are the ones who are clutch because they win that map 5 in a pretty clean fashion overall.
And Kean, at the end of the day, they'll be able to get themselves standing on 2 feet once more to push themselves on through. I mean, you do have to hand it to Ohio Northern for coming back as strong as you did. I mean, Jack, this has got to be one of the strongest comebacks that I've seen in quite some time, considering how terribly those first 2 maps generally went for this school. They got map 3, they got map 4 by a hair. Wanted to get it through map 5, even took a flashpoint off of Kean. The fact that they couldn't close it out, well, maybe the end of the underdog story today, but it does show the amount of potential that they have to move through the rest of this ECA season. It is only the beginning, after all, and it's not even the end for us here. We are in the process of looking for an interview for you guys this evening, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with that player. What a 5-map banger we had here on the ECAC Week 1 of Overwatch competition. If this is only the start, wow, I am here all the way until the end. But the hero's journey was not complete because somebody stood taller at the end of the day. Kean denied the reverse sweep at the final hour, and a big part of that was the friend that we have with us today, Leon, joining us as the tank player from Kean. How are you doing after a wonderful 5-map series?
Pretty good, pretty good. Falling asleep because Ramacha meta sucks, but aside from that, pretty good. I kind of lost my voice towards the end because we were just yelling ram, 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 may, bap, bap, bap. So like 80% of our comms tonight, but yeah, feeling good, feeling good.
Hey, that's a good sign, though. That means you guys are on the same page. The team synergy is there, and it got you through towards the end of the series. But there were some moments that we didn't see you guys on the Ramatra comp, and I wanted to ask about this because you guys played the Wrecking Ball, Tracer Far, Lucio Mercy, and if you guys are familiar, there's this team Kunoichi CGL that pulled this out and Calling All Heroes. Is this something that you guys had planned by yourselves, or was there some inspiration pulled from there?
Half and half. I won't lie. I'm a notorious ball player. I just really like ball. So
I'm so sorry.
every semester I'm like, guys, we should practice ball. And they're like, no, ball sucks. I'm like, guys, but ball, he's fun, I promise. So like throughout the semesters, I've been playing with some of these guys for like 3 years. Like they know I will just pull out ball sometimes if I think I can get away with it. So we've been practicing it for a bit, and then watching the Calling All Heroes game, I'm like, okay, this can work. Like it looks runnable, so why not run it? So we practiced in a few scrims, and it felt good. I'm happy I'm able to play not Ramatra. That's like the consensus of this patch so far for me. If I don't have to play Ramatra, life is good.
Yep. I mean, I feel like we all feel like that. I feel like, there's just a little bit too much of a good thing. Too much Ramatra on the field can be a little bit too much. But I want to talk about this series versus the one that you guys played previously against Ohio Northern in the fall. That was also a 5-map banger. However, you weren't able to come up on top of that one. What was the difference maker this time around that was able to get you guys over that hump, over that slump, and able to win this one out?
Think clearing our mental every map. Like instead of just going into rants or just complaining about like what could, should, and like what could and should happen, we just said, hey, this needs to be fixed. If we don't fix this, it's gonna suck. Once we get past these like little bumps that we're going through, like things just should be easier. Like a big point for me was at least in this last series was New Queen Street. We kind of like did not know what we were supposed to be doing on that map a few times, and then going into Cervasa, we felt a lot cleaner, a lot more comfortable. So I think that's the change from the last series we played with them compared to this one. We were just a lot more willing to adapt and focus and be like critical with our own cooldown use and positioning.
Awesome. You guys finished 4-4 last season, purposely balanced as all things should be, but still had a pretty good playoff run, upsetting Delaware, which was the number 3 seed, giving them a run for their money. How far do you think you can go, not only in the regular season, but also in playoffs this year?
I mean, I'd like to say we could win it all, but I'm gonna be realistic and say Fisher's a really scary team. Fisher and their 20 clones of identical strength, they're quite terrifying, those guys. I'd like to finish top 4, top 3 is nice. I want to place high. We will do as best as we can here at Kean.
I can see that. And, you did show us some great gameplay throughout the day-to-day, but I am going to bring you back to a painful topic. Fisher Freaks! That's your next matchup, whether you like it or not, for your second week. What's really the thoughts going in? Do you have any plan for it? Do you have any expectations for the game?
That meme with like the horse staring at the sea going, man? Like period? Yeah, that's all I'm feeling in my heart. Man. Okay. I mean, I think the best we can do going into next week is just be willing to learn. Like if they stomp us or if it goes even, so long as we take something away from that match, I'm happy. It's like we figure out something different that we could do for week 3 or week 4 or the rest of the season. That's all I really care about. I just wanna keep playing the video game, get better with my team. Pretty much it.
Yeah. With how good you guys look right now, I can't wait to see how you guys continue to push that ceiling even higher through your next games in the ECAC Overwatch Elite Division. It's been a pleasure to have you on here, Leon. We are going to bid you farewell. Sure, you got some things to talk over with your squad, but hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
What a character. I love the guy. Love the guy, both in the game and out. Might not like the matchup, but looked pretty darn good while he was pulling it out. Jag, today, we've seen a little bit of what the collegiate scene has to offer for this season. So we keep an eye on these teams. Do you have like any other squads that we should really be keeping an eye out for as the season progresses?
I mean, Fisher. I mean, you heard it here from Leon. You know, I think Fisher's always going to be the team to beat. They have. It's kind of crazy what they've done, honestly, in the last few years, because someone who comes from New England, who's from the Boston area, went to a school in Boston that used to be the most dominant Overwatch team, went to Northeastern University, and like that team used to win every like regional championship. But Fisher came in, has built this amazing program, and they have like 4 teams that like could be top 20 in the country. You know, it's crazy what they've built out there. So if there's any team that you want to beat, there's any team that's kind of like that marker of like how good you really are, it's going to be them. So I think for Kean, it's going to be a challenge. And while they might feel a little bit, you know, not so great about going into that, you never know what can happen. Even a map win or a close map can like propel you. And like we heard here, you know, it's not necessarily just about winning, it's about learning. Every loss is a new lesson that can help you become a better player.
Yeah, and even wins on itself. I mean, the best teams are the ones that are always on the hunt for improvement. And hearing from Kean's captain, they certainly have that mindset going forwards and have great things destined for them should they keep that up. But that is going to do it for our matchup here today. Congratulations to Kean on their week 1 win. We will have some more esports action coming up tomorrow, 7 p.m. We will have Valorant on the esports stream, so make sure to tune in there. It's been Tiny, Shiny, and Jag on the mic for you this evening. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.